Oasis Audio presents The Lopsided Christmas Cake by Wanda E. Brunstetter and Jean Brunstetter. Read for you by Rebecca Gallagher. Prologue, Sullivan, Illinois. Elma Hochstetler sat quietly beside her twin sister Thelma as their somber father read his parents' will. He'd found it last week after the funeral, but had waited until now to read it to them. Dad leaned forward, looking right at the twins. "Girls, it appears that you too have inherited my folks' house, as well as their store." The twins gasped in unison. "Once your dade has talked to a lawyer and the paperwork has been finalized, you can sell both places," Mom interjected. Dad touched Mom's arm. "Catherine, I think this is something we ought to let the girls decide." Tears threatened to spill from Elma's eyes as she allowed Dad's words to sink in. It had been difficult to accept that her grandparents had been killed when their horse and buggy were hit by a truck. Hearing this news was an even greater shock. Elma had assumed that Dad, being their only son, would inherit their estate. Why would Grandma and Grandpa want her and Thelma to have it? Full of questions, Elma squeezed her sister's hand. "What do you think we should do about this?" Tears glistened in Thelma's blue eyes. She drew in a quick breath. "If Grandma and Grandpa wanted us to have their house and store, I think we should honor their wishes." "But you can't move all the way to Indiana. We rely on you both to help at our store here." Mom's forehead wrinkled. "Besides, your grandparents didn't run things the way we do." "You worry too much, Catherine." Dad removed his glasses. "We'll hire a couple of girls to work in our store. The twins can run my folks' business however they want." He looked at Elma and Thelma. "In fact, I think you ought to go there as soon as possible." Mom's brown eyes widened. "Why, Jacob? Why the rush? This is a big decision." "It's not good to leave my parents' house sitting empty too long. And my folks' store needs to be up and running again. Their community relies on it." Dad rose to his feet. "I'm going out to the phone shack and call one of our drivers. Thelma and Elma, you need to get packed." Drying her tears, Thelma smiled. "This could be an adventure. I don't know about you, Elma, but it feels right to me." Elma nodded slowly, although she felt overwhelmed. Looking around their parents' living room, a lump formed in her throat. This was the only home she and her sister had ever known. Taking over their grandparents' place in Topeka meant she and Thelma would have to move 300 miles away. Fortunately, they had experience running a store, since they'd been helping at their parents' general store from the time they were girls. But they weren't girls anymore. Although they looked much younger, Elma and Thelma had turned 32 last month. They still lived at home, and neither of them was married or even had a serious boyfriend. There really was nothing keeping them here. The question was, would they be able to take on such a monumental task by themselves? Chapter 1. Topeka, Indiana, 3 days later. Standing in the front yard while gazing at their grandparents' rambling old 2-story house, all Elma Hochstetler could do was shake her head in disbelief. Glancing toward the road as their driver disappeared, Elma bit her lip. "This is it. There's no going back." Overcome with emotion, she turned to face Thelma. "I can't believe this place is really ours."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?